I had been with the alpha rich boy Lincoln for 4 years when I accidentally got pregnant. In the middle of my pregnancy, his fiancée slapped me so hard it left my right ear deaf. Lincoln said, "I told you not to run around. Why can't you just listen?" That's when I finally realized I was someone meant to be kept hidden. After the baby was born, I was forced to undergo a gland removal surgery. Heartbroken and devastated, I fled in disgrace. I didn't take anything with me, not even the child. 1. I was given to Lincoln as payment for a debt. After I presented as a prime omega, my family fell apart. My father, a sub-alpha, suspected my sub-omega mother of cheating. He pointed a finger at my face and told me I wasn't his biological child. Even when my mother tearfully offered to take a paternity test, he refused to believe her. He drank, gambled, and hired escorts like it was nothing, all while loudly spreading rumors that my mom was a disgraceful woman. When he won at gambling, he got drunk and celebrated. When he lost, he drank out of frustration. Every time, he came home and beat her. I had tried to protect my mother, to take the beatings with her. She pushed me away in anger and said, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't presented as a prime, I wouldn't be suffering like this. We're all subgene types in this family, why are you the only exception?" I didn't understand. Wasn't presenting as a prime omega supposed to be a good thing? Then why was I the first one my own family turned against? No one ever gave me an answer. When I turned 18, my mom really did run away with someone else. My dad's punching bag was now just me. He owed loan sharks too much money. Debt collectors showed up at our doorstep almost every other day. 3 days before the college entrance exam, I went back home. My dad buttered me up, then handed me over to a group of debt collectors, all covered in tattoos. "Gentlemen, this kid's a prime omega. His pheromones smell like ylang ylang. Real tempting. Why don't you have a little fun with him? Maybe knock a little off my debt." Most of the collectors were sub-alphas. Their noses twitched as they closed in on me, sniffing all over, their faces twisted with sick fascination. I couldn't fully control my pheromones yet. Embarrassed, I tried to run, but I couldn't. Any alpha's pheromones could drain the strength from my limbs, and the one who first stopped me from escaping was my own father. He overwhelmed me with the power of his gender and patriarchal dominance. Raging, he shouted, "I raised you all these years. Don't you owe me something? You think you can run from me? Omegas are just cheap, prime or not. I can still make you beg on your knees." Then he turned to the collectors, grinning sycophantically. "I heard prime omegas have super high fertility. They've got a great chance of giving birth to a prime alpha. Go ahead, do whatever you want, even if he gets pregnant. So what? Just please, be generous, let me off the hook a bit, don't beat me up." The collectors' eyes gleamed green as they stared me down, their hands itching. They lunged at me, grabbing and tearing at my clothes, arguing over who'd be first. The flood of chaotic pheromones overwhelmed my senses. It was nauseating. My eyes lost focus. My ears stopped registering sound. All I could think was, maybe it's better to just die. A coat smelling faintly of green tangerine liqueur dropped onto me, and my eyes flickered. Lincoln was standing at the doorway, backlit by the sun. His expression was cold, lips moving. My ears were still ringing. I couldn't hear what he was saying. All I knew was that the debt collectors were now cowering behind him. My father tried to run, but they caught him, pinned him down and chopped off 2 fingers from his right hand. But that wasn't enough. Even his life wasn't enough to pay off what he owed. So, Lincoln took me away, too. Lincoln was the leader of those debt collectors, but he was only 4 years older than me. His family had deep ties in the underground world. He'd been out hustling on the streets since he was young. His first job, managing a casino. My dad was just one of his many delinquent clients. Normally, not worth Lincoln's personal attention, but he happened to be bored that day, waiting on his men to get things done. When they didn't, he came over to check for himself. That's when he stumbled upon me, this burden. That night, he threw me onto his bed, and gave me 2 choices. "You're here to pay off your father's debt. You can either serve one man, me, or serve a whole group. Pick one." Trembling, I undid his belt, told him it was my first time, begged him to go easy. After it was over, the moonlight crept in through the gray curtains. Staring at that sliver of light, I gathered the courage to ask, "Can I still go to school?" Lincoln pulled me close by the waist, lazily patting my head, already half asleep. "Sure, you're not a prisoner. No one's locking you up." That night, for a brief moment, life didn't seem so impossible, but I still didn't make it back to school. During the college entrance exam, I couldn't answer most of the questions. My brain felt like mush. I could recognize the words, but I couldn't comprehend them. I had become so slow, but that didn't make sense. Prime omegas, like prime alphas, were supposed to be innately intelligent. I used to be top of my class, smart enough to get into a good high school. Now I was too stupid to even get into college. When Lincoln saw my exam score, he smiled faintly and tried to comfort me. It's okay to be a little dumb. You're with me now, I'll take care of you. And just like that, 3 years passed. I was obedient, quiet, never caused trouble. I was the only Omega by Lincoln's side. In our 4th year, I found out I was pregnant. By the time I realized, I was already 4 months along. I was terrified. Lincoln had always used protection. I was scared he'd think I'd been sleeping around, scared he'd yell at me, hit me, just like my father used to. I wanted to get rid of the baby in secret, but the doctor advised against it, said it would do serious harm to my body. I didn't care. Lying on the operating table, I was still thinking of how to hide it from Lincoln. Then the next moment, Lincoln appeared, and, of course, he blew up. You really tried to get rid of my child? I blinked, processing his words, and asked, you're not even suspicious the baby isn't yours? Lincoln gave a cold laugh, rubbing the back of my neck, making me shrink from the ticklish sensation. I'm not that stupid. Besides, I already marked you. Who'd dare touch you? I reached back and touched the faint ridge of a bite mark on my nape. So this was the power of a prime alpha's mark. My mom had been marked by my dad too, but that mark only ever shackled her. It was like an invisible prison that locked her down for half her life. I didn't want to become my mother. Quietly, I asked Lincoln, does this mark stay with me forever? He didn't smile, lips slightly curled, eyelids lowered. He looked down at me. What do you think? He gripped the base of my neck hard. That spot was sensitive, couldn't be stimulated. My body went limp and fell into his arms. Unless someone cuts this part of you out, you'll be my Omega for the rest of your life. I tore his hand away, clutching my neck and shaking my head. It hurts. Don't cut it out. Lincoln snorted. Good. As long as you know it hurts. He brought me to some solemn-looking building and had pictures taken, just like they do when photographing criminals. Maybe my dad owed too much money. Lincoln needed leverage to keep me from running. After the photos, the first thing Lincoln did when we got home was hand me some pills. Here, take these. 3. I had no idea what kind of pills they were. After Lincoln found me at the hospital, he ran a whole series of tests on me. I was dazed and disoriented. He talked with the doctor for ages and came back with a pile of medication. What are these? Can I not take them? I asked. I feel fine. I don't need medicine. Lincoln stared at me for a long moment, then lowered his head, sorted the pills, and gently fed them to me. You're too skinny. These are all nutritional supplements. None of the bottles had labels. I placed my hand over my belly and asked quietly, are they okay for the baby? He paused, then nodded. Of course. So I took them. 4. I took the medicine just like he asked. But then Lincoln stopped touching me. He gave me the master bedroom and started sleeping in the guest room. I felt hurt, but didn't dare ask why. I was just a debt offering. I didn't have the right to dream of winning affection by bearing a child. Late at night, I'd fall asleep clutching the clothes he left behind. One morning, Lincoln saw me and smiled knowingly. After that, he started changing outfits 3 times a day, tossing them all to me. Thinking of nesting already? If so, this probably isn't enough clothes. Ha! I'd never gone through nesting before, because every time I went into heat, Lincoln was there. But this time, he wasn't. Since getting pregnant, he wouldn't let me go to work with him. He told me to stay home and rest. One day, I overheard one of his underlings say, "Boss is probably dealing with his fiancée's mess right now." Heard the old man arranged for him to marry some pretty little Omega. And just like that, my heat came crashing in. The guys panicked, calling Lincoln and scrambling to get inhibitors. They never expected me to run, but I did. I wanted to find Lincoln, but my brain was a foggy mess. I got lost on the street. I ran into several alphas. They surrounded me, so loud, so overwhelming. Their scents were unbearable. Someone slapped me, shouted, "Weren't you just clinging to Lincoln for money? You're disgusting. How much did you milk out of him? That should have been mine. Give it back." I curled into myself, shaking my head, wanted to say I didn't take anything. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, Lincoln was standing in front of me, beside a stunning Omega. His face was dark with rage. "What happened?" he asked. All the alphas were gone, like none of it ever happened, but my face was swollen and burning. My right ear was ringing, completely deaf, probably temporary. I ignored it, pointed at the Omega and said, "Your fiancé said I stole your money and told me to give it back." I told him I didn't, and he hit me. I sounded like a little kid tattling, just wanted Lincoln to drive his fiancé away. Lincoln exchanged a long look with him, his face unreadable, then sighed, rubbing his temples. "You should leave, we'll talk another time." Then he turned to me. "Didn't I tell you not to run around? Why don't you ever listen?" I flinched, a sharp ache in my chest. Finally, I understood. To Lincoln, I was just a toy he kept around for when he got bored, someone he couldn't let the world see. I didn't respond. Lincoln stayed quiet too. He brought me home, lifted my chin, and applied ointment to my face. His eyes were blazing with fury. At the end, he smashed the jar on the ground, stormed out and yelled at his men, then came back in and yelled at me. Say something, cat got your tongue, you're running a fever, do you even know that? You couldn't just call me, you had to go wandering off. As he scolded me, he pulled off my pants, held up the soaked fabric. If I'd gotten there even a little later, do you have any idea what would have happened to you? I curled up and looked away, afraid that if I opened my mouth, I'd start crying, but I was a man, I couldn't fall apart like that. Lincoln finally stopped yelling, furrowed his brows, and told me to get on my knees. Slowly, heavily, he helped me through my heat. Afterward, he bit the back of my neck again. His overwhelming pheromones surged into my glands. It hurt, and it felt good. Tears poured down my face uncontrollably. 5. After that, Lincoln stopped letting me go outside altogether. He often brought his fiancée home. They'd watch me, studying my every move, then whisper quietly to each other. I started to resent Lincoln, but I didn't have the right to hate him. I wasn't anyone important to him. I grew quieter, spacing out more and more. Lincoln gave me even more pills to take. I didn't ask questions, I just took them obediently. 4 months later, I went into early labor, gave birth to a little boy who was far too quiet, like a kitten, tiny and fragile. From the moment he was born, he stayed in an incubator. I couldn't shake the guilt. He was born an illegitimate child. How was he supposed to live? Would he grow up like me, with no freedom, no happiness? But I was overthinking. Right after my recovery month, Lincoln's fiancée showed up to put me in my place. He was furious that Lincoln had marked me. He stabbed a steak fork into my gland. I didn't dare tell Lincoln, afraid he'd choose someone else over me. I hid the wound for a few days. Lincoln was busy, working, visiting the baby at the hospital. He didn't notice. By the time he found out, the wound had already gotten infected and started to rot. He exploded, slammed his fist into the wall. His knuckles bled. The wall was stained red, but he didn't seem to feel it. He silently took me to the hospital, had my gland removed. He didn't believe what I said, didn't believe that his fiancée had done it on purpose, that it was a way to sever the mark. He said I was crazy. I still didn't fight. I didn't know how. I just buried my left ear into the blanket. Lincoln didn't know. I couldn't hear him at all with my right ear anymore. So stupid, so miserable. While Lincoln stepped out to talk to the doctors, I sneaked a look at our baby. Lincoln had named him Declan. He looked sickly, with eyes just like mine, no sparkle in them at all. Why did he have to choose me as his dad? He deserved better. I gave him one last glance, then walked away. 6. I walked, through alleyways, side roads, and bustling streets, for a long, long time, from B City, Lincoln City, where I was born. I walked all the way to faraway A City, where no one knew me. I picked a random old street and put down roots. I lived carelessly, didn't trim my hair, didn't shave. I don't know how long passed. One day, a new neighbor asked me what my name was. I thought for a long time but couldn't remember. He noticed I was half-deaf and looked older than my age, so he just called me Roman. I didn't bother correcting him. I didn't even remember how old I was. All I did was borrow money from him. Beckett, right? Lend me some cash. For what? To buy booze? No. Stingy. He was new here too, a secondary alpha. But I had no gland now, no pheromones. Alphas couldn't control me anymore, so I wasn't afraid of him at all. He was pregnant, rubbing his belly as he said, "Damn right I'm stingy. I gotta save up to raise this kid. Roman, seriously, can't you drink less?" I didn't listen, collected bottles and did odd jobs just to buy alcohol. When I got drunk, I always felt strangely good, couldn't explain why. It felt like I'd forgotten something important. Whenever I saw Beckett's belly, something would flicker in my memory, like I had a baby once, too. But with who? Where was that baby now? I had no idea, and for some reason, I was terrified to find out. Beckett was a good guy. He always let me share his meals. He had a daughter, adorable and sweet. I worked hard to earn money, just so I could buy her cute little dresses, snacks, and toys. She really liked me. That made me so happy, gave me a reason to keep going. Time flew by. Before I knew it, Jude was in kindergarten. Soon after the school year started, Beckett suddenly entered his sensitivity phase. He asked me to pick up Jude from school. I hesitated, nervous, but still went to wash my hair, clean myself up, shaved my scruffy beard, and even borrowed Beckett's suit. It was a little big, but in the mirror, I looked decent. Shouldn't embarrass Jude. She went to a fancy kindergarten in the city's development zone. When I picked her up, she was stunned. When she heard me tell the teacher I was sent by her dad, Roman, her eyes sparkled as she leapt into my arms. "So you're not Grandpa after all. You're so pretty. I like you." I was surprised, but smiled and carried her away. Just as we were about to leave, one of her classmates tugged on my coat, didn't say a word, just wouldn't let go. His big dark eyes stared straight at me. When his dad arrived, he froze too. His eyes suddenly turned red. I smiled awkwardly. "Sir, aren't you going to take your son home?" He flinched, murmuring, "Sir, yes, sir, I'm in a bit of a rush. Could you please talk to your son?" He wiped his face hard with both hands, but instead of coaxing his son, he let the boy cling to me. "He's on the autism spectrum. He rarely takes a liking to anyone. Could you play with him a while longer? I can pay you." I glanced at the boy. Strangely, I didn't want to take his money, so I nodded. "All right." I really liked kids, couldn't stand to see them upset. I took Jude and the little boy home with me. The man wanted to follow us, but I told him I'd send the boy to school tomorrow, hinting he could go home. He didn't get the message and stuck close behind, asking if Jude was my biological daughter. When he found out she was Beckett's, his expression softened noticeably. We chatted, on and off, but when I reached Beckett's door, I felt a wave of dread. How was I supposed to explain that I'd brought a whole crowd home for dinner? 7. Turned out, that man knew Beckett. They started talking the moment they saw each other, so I took the kids out for a walk by myself. There was a street vendor selling sugar figurines. Jude asked for one shaped like a leaf. I turned to the little boy. "What shape do you want?" He looked up at me and said quickly, almost mechanically, "A fish, Daddy." So his name was Weston. Adorable. "I'm not your daddy." "Okay, Daddy, forget it, he's just a kid, too young to understand." No point in correcting him. I handed Weston his candy. He gave me a stiff little smile. Very polite. "Weston says thank you, Daddy." Made my heart ache a little. I crouched down and patted his head. "Where's your dad, Weston?" His big eyes were full of confusion. "You are my dad, Daddy." What kind of parent raises a child like this? I was a little angry. I hated parents who didn't treat their kids right. When Beckett sent Jude to that fancy kindergarten, I scolded him for it. Thought he was using her, trying to get her close to rich kids from an early age. Who was that man just now? I asked Weston. He slowly licked his sugar fish, paused for a moment, then said, "That's Daddy, Daddy. This kid uses Daddy like a comma. He probably talks like this to everyone." I let out a breath of relief. "So, does your daddy treat you well?" He blinked, then nodded. "Daddy treats me really well, Daddy. He raised me all by himself until I was 4, Daddy. Even when I made him cry, he never forgot to make my milk, Daddy. All by himself." That man was tall, handsome, carried himself with ease, had such a good scent, too. No way he was alone. Then again, none of this had anything to do with me. I just wanted to make sure the kid was okay. "That's good, Weston. Make sure you grow up happy, okay?" I stood up and held both their little hands, slowly strolled from one end of the street to the other. 8. Just as I was about to head home, I glanced back. That man was standing far away, watching me. His expression was strange, like he was smiling, but also like he was crying. Curious. I walked over and asked, "Are you done talking?" He nodded, then crouched down to touch Weston's face, looked up at me, said, "This kid's name is Declan. I'm Lincoln. Why tell me that? We probably won't cross paths again." "Oh." I let go of Weston and stepped back. "You can take him home now." I hadn't eaten dinner yet, and I was hungry. Jude's stomach was growling too. I was going to make Beckett bleed by making him treat us to a good meal. Something like spicy stir-fried beef with peppers, spicy and fragrant. I grabbed Jude's hand and was about to leave, when a sharp scream startled me. "Daddy's bad. Weston doesn't want Daddy to leave. Daddy can't leave. Daddy." I turned around to see Weston throwing his sugar candy at Lincoln. His face was full of anger. He stomped his feet and slapped Lincoln's leg like he couldn't control himself. His dark, grape-like eyes were wet with tears, so different from his usual quiet, well-behaved self. The sticky candy left an embarrassing mark on Lincoln's nice suit. Lincoln smiled wryly. He picked up the struggling Weston and started patting his back gently to soothe him. "Daddy's not leaving, and he's not taking you away either. Be good, or Daddy might not like you anymore." "Ha!" Weston quieted down immediately. His wet eyes looked up at me cautiously. "Weston doesn't want to be disliked, Daddy." So pitiful. I couldn't help but gently wipe his tears away. "No one dislikes Weston." Lincoln looked at me and said, "Beckett's busy right now. How about we eat together?" He paused, then added, "My treat. Thank you for spending time with Weston." I sized him up. He must be rich, so maybe I could eat a little more meat. I went all out. I want spicy stir-fried beef, braised pork, chicken stewed with mushrooms, sweet and sour ribs, tomato beef stew, and fish head tofu soup. Oh, and I want some alcohol too. After saying that, I sheepishly scratched the back of my head and glanced at him. Maybe that's too much. Lincoln stared at me for a long moment, then chuckled. "Not too much. You like all this? He murmured. I just realized. He led me outside the old street. He liked it, but not only liked it. I like all delicious food. I just rarely get to eat big meals. I'm lazy and don't earn enough money for fancy food and drinks. 9. The next day, Beckett's sensitivity phase was completely over. Out of nowhere, a man named Hudson appeared and went with him to pick up Jude from kindergarten. Lincoln stayed overnight in the old street too. He also wanted to take Weston to kindergarten. Weston refused to go. He cried, wanting to see me. He wanted me to take him. I asked Lincoln, what about the kid's mom or dad? Lincoln was silent for a moment, then lowered his head. It's Dad. He doesn't want us anymore. I've been looking for him for a long time. There was a heavy aura of despair around him, impossible to ignore. Curious, I asked, did you find him? He looked up, eyes unreadable. Yes, I found him. I felt happy for them. Then hurry up and make up. If the kid misses his dad this much, you guys better take turns dropping him off and picking him up. I can't do it all the time. I have to work to earn money for booze. I held Weston's other hand, walking toward the kindergarten. I'd help with this one trip. Lincoln held Weston's right hand. In his left, he held a string of prayer beads. He kept twisting them. After a while, he quietly asked, can I hire you to take him to and from school? 100,000 a month. I hadn't earned that much money in the past 3 years. He was really rich and generous, but he seemed like a scammer. I eyed him suspiciously. Are you a con artist? To prove he wasn't, Lincoln asked me to pull out my phone. He wanted to transfer money, but after looking through it, he gave it back. Your WeChat and Zhifubao aren't verified with your real name. Of course not. I didn't even know who I was. No ID card. The phone was Beckett's, registered with his identity for WeChat and phone service. I rarely used it, but when something urgent came up, I couldn't be without a phone. I don't have an ID card and don't know who I am. I get paid in cash for work. You have to pay me cash too. Lincoln stiffened, voice low and rough. Deal. After dropping Weston at kindergarten, he took me to a bank counter, withdrawn 100,000 cash on the spot, handed it to me. I'd never seen so much money before. Happy but scared, I double-checked. Just to take Weston to and from school, right? Lincoln nodded. If needed, I hope you can spend some free time playing with him too. No problem. Are you really sure you won't regret this? No, I'm more afraid that you'll regret it. With this much money, only a fool would regret it. Lincoln must be a fool. Who hires a nanny like this? 10. Lincoln bought a rundown little place in the old street, right next door to me. My rundown place was bought with a jade pendant carved from mutton fat jade. When I first came to the old street, I was wearing that jade pendant around my neck. A middle-aged man offered to trade a house for it. I agreed. I didn't know where the pendant came from, just knew I was super poor, and it probably wasn't real jade. I made a killing on that deal, so when Lincoln asked how I bought the house, I told him the truth. His expression changed color constantly, like a chameleon. He turned away without looking at me and murmured, holding his chest, forget it, forget it. You brought this on yourself. It's good to be alive, just good to be alive. What was he mumbling? I slammed down my wine glass, signaling him to pour me a drink. You know me, right? Do you know my name? Lincoln hesitated for a few seconds, then poured me a drink. I do. You're Grayson. Your birthday is October 10th, and you're 26 years old. So strange. Why did he know me better than I did? Am I the person you've been looking for? Lincoln paused, lowered his head, his shoulders trembling. He was smiling. What are you laughing at? Lincoln smiled and said, laughing because you've gotten smarter. What? Am I really Weston's dad? Lincoln nodded. I still didn't understand. Then why did I leave you guys? Lincoln was stunned, filled his own glass and downed it. He looked lost too. I don't know either. Maybe I just didn't keep an eye on you well enough. Am I a criminal? Do you have to watch over me? Lincoln shook his head, said no more. He wandered around me every day like he had nothing better to do. 11. After wandering around for a week, Lincoln got caught by Hudson. Damn it, if you don't go back to the company soon, I won't care anymore. It wasn't even my company to begin with. Lincoln had no choice and handed Weston over to me. I'm going back to the company for a bit. You two behave and don't run off. Don't run off. Hearing that, my right ear suddenly seemed to ring, but my right ear is supposed to be deaf. After Lincoln left, I covered my ear and took a moment to calm down. When I looked back, Weston was staring up at me with his little face. What's wrong, Daddy? Does your ear hurt, Daddy? He tugged my hand and started walking out of the old street, small but surprisingly strong. Daddy says if you're sick, you should say it out loud and go to the hospital for a proper checkup. You have to listen to the doctor and take your medicine obediently. Daddy, I'll take you to the hospital. Daddy, Lincoln had taught Declan well. Even though Declan has autism and tends to mechanically repeat words and actions, sometimes throwing tantrums, most of the time he's very sensible and polite. Since I learned I might actually be his dad, I felt an inexplicable guilt every time I look at him. It's like I abandoned him. That thought keeps spinning in my mind, so I go along with whatever he wants, but I resist going to the hospital. I picked up Declan. Daddy's not sick. How about we go shopping instead? Daddy has lots of money now and can buy Weston some cool kids' clothes. Declan nodded, pursing his lips and showing a tiny smile. He doesn't smile much, but he's learning. He said, Daddy never smiles, so Weston can't learn. Daddy, but Daddy always smiles. It looks nice, and Weston wants to learn. Daddy, why doesn't your daddy smile? Declan thought for a moment. Daddy likes to cry. Daddy always looks at pictures of you. Daddy, and his face gets all wet. Daddy's shy. Daddy. A vivid picture formed in my mind. It was really funny. I was leading Declan into the mall, stifling a smile, when suddenly someone grabbed my shoulder. Asher, is that you, Asher? I turned around. A thin middle-aged woman looked at me in shock. I didn't recognize her, but she had a ton of questions. Her murky eyes scanned me and Declan. In disbelief, she said, You're married and have a kid. With who? She immediately grabbed at Declan's clothes and rubbed them, then checked the logo on his outfit. All his clothes are branded. Where did you get the money to buy them? Did you marry into a wealthy family? What about your dad? Is he living off you now? Her tone grew bitter. Even when the little girl behind her nervously called Mom, she ignored her. I pulled her hand away and hid Declan behind me. Calmly, I said, Sorry, you have the wrong person. 12. The middle-aged woman suddenly went crazy. Wrong person. I gave birth to you on October 10, 1999. Your dad was drunk and out of his mind and named you Asher. But when they registered your household, the registrar misheard and wrote down Grayson, and it was never corrected. Now that you've made it big, you don't want to recognize your mother. You're just like your heartless dad, a thankless bastard. Every sentence she said added to my confusion. Finally, crying, she started hitting my shoulder. Little 10, pity your mother. She pulled the little girl in front of me, sobbing. Mom has never had a good life. Mom doesn't blame you, but your little sister is still young. Please pity us and give Mom some money so your sister can have a better life. Okay. I covered my ringing right ear and numbly looked at the scared, tearful little girl. I have no money. The woman wouldn't let it go. I don't believe you. You're my son. Since you're successful, you owe your parents. You should give me a share of your money. If you don't, I'll sue you. Her words sounded so familiar, but I couldn't remember where I'd heard them before, and I didn't want to think about it. I wanted to run, but my feet felt nailed to the ground, unable to move an inch. Declan got angry. His small hands kept slapping the woman. Let go of my daddy. Bad woman. Daddy told me to protect Daddy. Weston protects Daddy. Daddy's not scared. Daddy's very strong. When Daddy comes, he'll get revenge for Daddy. The woman finally let go. Realization dawning. I get it now. You're broke, but the alpha you hooked up with has money. Good Omegas know how to land rich alphas. If it weren't for me, how could you have caught a rich man? Shouldn't you thank me? Her mouth kept opening and closing. Gradually, I stopped hearing what she was saying. I crouched down, my mind blank. I didn't know what to say or do. It hurt so much. My chest felt stuffed with wet cotton, making it hard to breathe. I felt sick. I held Declan tightly, like clutching the last lifeline. 13. When Lincoln rushed over, I thought I saw someone else next to him. My heart ached. I shut my eyes tight and reopened them. Only he was there. So strange. Was I hallucinating? Or maybe I was drunk. Lincoln strode toward me. I couldn't help but retreat, squatting down. I couldn't back up any further and ended up sitting on the ground. Lincoln's outstretched hands trembled, then suddenly stopped. His expression was terrible. He spun around and sharply chased the middle-aged woman away. With his back to me, he asked, Grayson, are you afraid of me? I nodded and shook my head at the same time. I wasn't afraid of him, but I was afraid to face him in this situation. I kept feeling like something bad was going to happen. I didn't know what I was saying. I murmured, You don't believe me. You believe your fiancé. I'm nothing. Lincoln suddenly turned around, squatted down, and gripped my shoulder tightly. His strength was intense. I frowned and slapped his hand away. Stay away from me. You make my whole body ache when you touch me. Lincoln looked at his hand, bloodshot eyes spreading. The heavy scent of green tangerine liquor filled the air. His expression was restrained, his voice thick with emotion. I thought I wasn't good enough. That's why you wanted to run away. But Grayson, you've run for 3 years, and you're still crazy. Tell me, why should I stay away from you? He seemed like a balloon that was suddenly popped, breaking down completely. Clenching his fists, he slammed them hard on the tile floor. What fiancé? Screw that fiancé. I've said it 100 times. It's all in your head. From beginning to end, you're the only Omega I have. You can't hear, or you pretend not to hear, hiding in your own world, pitiful as hell. Being wrong doesn't matter. As long as you're okay, as long as you take your medicine obediently, that's what matters. What more do you want from me? Why did you have to leave me? Why are you still suffering after leaving me? You've seen your dad break down, your mom break down, even a stranger break down. You can break down anytime, anywhere, but me, I damn well can't break down, can't even question you, can't let you remember any bit of the past. Why should I? You owe me, not the other way around. He cried so bitterly, tears fell on the floor, mixing with drops of blood from his pounding fists. They spread out, making me dizzy. The child's crying suddenly pierced the suffocating silence. I shivered and turned to Declan. His face was full of panic. His little face flushed red. His mouth moved rapidly like a machine gun. Don't fight with Daddy. Daddy, I don't want Daddy to leave me. Daddy, you promised to take good care of Daddy. Why are you yelling at Daddy? Daddy, you said Daddy was sick, and sick people need to be comforted, just like you comfort sick Weston. Daddy, 14. I still went to the hospital. Lincoln dragged me there, probably had enough of my stubbornness. They put me under the neurology department, did a bunch of tests and questionnaires. By the time I came out, Lincoln was gone. Beckett and Hudson were waiting with Jude and Declan. Beckett looked calm, holding a stack of test results and prescriptions. He softly said, Lincoln said he's going to take a few days to cool off. He asked me to say sorry on his behalf and told you to get plenty of rest. Let's go home. Hudson said nothing. His cold gaze wasn't exactly friendly, like he had something he wanted to say but held back. Beckett shot him a sideways glance, and he fell silent, mumbling, Omegas are just hard to please. My brothers had it rough these years too, you know, working, taking care of kids, and looking for people all at once. Beckett slapped him lightly with irritation. Why don't you guys reflect on why he always runs away? Hudson went quiet, turned the wheel, and headed back to the old street. Declan rested in my arms, holding me tightly, his little head bobbed up and down. I stroked his hair. Go to sleep. Daddy won't leave Weston. Daddy, won't leave. No sooner said than he was asleep. I asked Beckett for the test results and flipped through them on the way. Some conclusions were from the doctor's assessments. Some were summaries Lincoln discussed privately with the doctors. The diagnosis read, schizophrenia. Symptoms included disorganized thinking, abnormal behavior and thoughts. He'd had hallucinations and delusions of being persecuted. I clenched the report, thinking, so I really am sick. I touched the back of my neck. There was a round scar there. If the persecution was just in my head, why was my gland injured? I tried hard to remember but couldn't. The harder I tried, the worse my headache got. I gave up. Anyway, Lincoln definitely knows. 15. Lincoln didn't show up the entire week. When he finally appeared, he had a divorce agreement in hand. His eyelids drooped as he said he wanted a divorce. I was stunned. I was married. Lincoln froze, then gave a bitter laugh. You hate me so much you don't even remember marrying. I won't bother you anymore to avoid hurting you. Declan likes you, and you like him, so keep him. I'll give you half my assets. Don't worry about raising him. I was dazed listening. What about you? I asked. Lincoln froze again, forced out an awkward smile. Me? I'm finally free. No more hunting for a wife or babysitting kids. I don't know how relieved I am. Lies. Then why was he hiding and crying with swollen eyes? Can we not divorce? I'll get better. I seriously suggested. It's unfair to divorce when I haven't regained my memory. Help me recover it first, then we can talk about divorce. Lincoln took a deep breath and leaned against my shabby apartment door, covered his eyes with one hand, silent for a long time. I thought he was unwilling, fed up with me, but he finally said, I really owe you. 16. He took me to meet someone, a young man, with that unique scent only Omegas have. The moment I saw him, I felt extremely irritated. He seemed to know, quickly raising his hand to show a simple, rustic ring on it. I'm already married. Lincoln and I have no relationship beyond client and therapist. Though Lincoln said he explained this many times, I think it's necessary to explain it again. His name was Nolan, a psychotherapist, very skilled in hypnosis, an old classmate of Lincoln's. Lincoln originally found him to hypnotize me to forget the trauma from my birth family, but the first meeting was awkward. During my pregnancy, the word fiancé triggered me and I got overheated. I ran to find Lincoln. Actually, I found my own family again. Met my dad. He was drunk again. When he saw me, he asked if I had money. I said no, and he beat me. He's the one who caused my ear deafness. But when I saw Nolan, my brain twitched and I only remembered that he had hit me. Lincoln said, what could I do? I just had him leave. I asked why you kept running around, and you wouldn't say. You never say. I didn't know what to do either, so I kept you at home. Got Nolan to observe your condition. He's one of the few top hypnotists in the country. Tried hypnotizing you several times, but you didn't cooperate and were very guarded. I had no choice but to let him go. I believed him. I let Nolan hypnotize me again. This time I let down my guard and hostility, so I remembered some things. When I woke up, Lincoln was anxiously watching me. I was still dizzy but less confused. He looked like he had waited a lifetime for an answer and asked, "So, can you tell me why you went back there to find me?" I pursed my lips, lowered my head, and hesitated. I thought maybe I had been too repressed before, hiding everything inside, which led to the current situation. I said, "Because that's where I met you." Lincoln fell silent suddenly. After a long pause, he covered his face with both hands and sighed. "This is really annoying. You're really, really hateful." Then paused, continuing, "But also the cutest." 17. Hypnotherapy can't cure everything in one session. Nolan scheduled a course for me, once a week, 1 hour each time. Not too long. Not good for stabilizing mental state. On the 4th session, I finally remembered how my gland got injured. I had self-harmed. In my subconscious, I treated Lincoln like property, but consciously I felt unworthy because I was just debt repayment. I believed Lincoln's constant declarations of love weren't for me as a person, but for my omega pheromones. I hated Lincoln for not being faithful, hated myself for being controlled by pheromones and addicted to Lincoln's scent, hated Nolan for taking Lincoln away. Of course, this was all my imagination, so I destroyed my gland and framed Nolan. In fact, Nolan hadn't shown up for a long time during that period, but I kept seeing him because my mind was sick. Since accepting I was sick, things got a lot smoother. The tangled memories gradually sorted themselves out. I started feeling guilty, being dramatic, watching my past memories like an outsider. I just thought I was so melodramatic. The jade pendant Lincoln gave me on the day we registered our marriage was worth millions, but I casually traded it for this shabby old place. When I was with Lincoln, the meals were always delicious and abundant, but I had no appetite and hardly ate. When Lincoln asked what I liked to eat, I'd say anything was fine. So many things like that, too many to count. I was ashamed to face Lincoln and Nolan. Stayed home for days without going out. Declan called me, but I didn't answer. Lincoln broke into my apartment. Changed that bad habit of hiding whenever trouble comes. Declan buried in my arms, tearfully pouting. "Don't ignore me, Daddy." I looked at him, waves of guilt like a tsunami washing over me. During pregnancy, taking psychiatric meds can affect the baby. The doctor warned Declan, but Declan didn't care. Even if I have a fool for a kid, I can raise him my whole life. Getting Grayson well is the top priority. Declan was a premature baby, unusually quiet from birth. After learning to speak, diagnosed with mild autism. As he grew, his tantrums became unbearable. Lincoln was unwilling to entrust him to others, put a lot of effort into care. The more I understood, the more I felt heartache and guilt, but I didn't dare waste energy fighting myself anymore. 18. I asked Lincoln where my dad was. Lincoln took me to a psychiatric hospital. He's lively in there, gambling rock-paper-scissors with patients and nurses. I saw my dad acting twitchy, playing rock-paper-scissors with a nurse. If he won, he obediently took his medication. If he lost, he'd lose it, shouting he'd kill the nurse. If it were anyone else, the nurse would keep losing to force them to take meds. But the nurse in charge of my dad deliberately kept winning. My dad kept losing his temper, shouting, locked behind the small iron window of the ward. "Was that you?" Lincoln nodded. I even arranged electroshock therapy for him. "Want to watch for some release?" I shook my head, clenched my fist until my knuckles cracked. "Open the ward door, I'll beat him up myself." Before, I was terrified of my dad's pheromones. Sour, foul-smelling, and accompanied by terrifying beatings and verbal abuse that left me frozen. Now, I could still smell his unique rotten scent, but I'd lost my glands, lost the Omega's innate submission to an alpha. Only my sense of smell remained. No fear anymore. Why shouldn't I take revenge? Lincoln smiled and had the ward open so we could go in together. Later, I never sought out my mom. She raised me but was also a victim of a patriarchal alpha household. I could ignore her but not blame her. 19. After fully recovering, I saw the divorce papers sitting on the bedside table. I took them out and placed them in front of Lincoln. Politely asked, "Do you still want to divorce? I respect your choice." Lincoln's face changed instantly. He snatched the papers and tore them in half. "Burning bridges? In your dreams." I smiled tightly. The smile grew louder and louder. Lincoln stared at me, lips pressed, eyes red, accusing me. "I've been with you for 4 years, and you've never smiled like this at me." I stopped smiling after my mom abandoned me. I explained, "That's okay. It's not too late now." Lincoln rubbed the scar on the back of my neck and tucked my white hair behind my ear. "Dye your hair black. It looks uncomfortable." "Okay, I'll dye it for you." Later, I moved into Lincoln's house, and we took a family photo with Declan. My neighbor was still Beckett. End of main story. Epilogue. Lincoln. I rescued a pitiful little cat. Smelled really good. Supposedly came to repay a debt, but he's way harder to please than me. He frowns and whines after falling asleep. Only when I hold him to sleep does he rest peacefully. His mind's troubled, always mumbling nonsense. I thought it was his family trauma and that it'd pass with time. It did, only it was just hidden. After he got pregnant, all the symptoms came back. And worse, I didn't want kids, but Grayson said he'd abort it, yet never let go of his belly, and made me the bad guy again. Well, whatever, I picked him up myself. Gotta take care of him. The doctor said psychiatric meds during pregnancy might cause miscarriage or brain issues. Whatever, as long as Grayson lives well, even if it's our child, we have to compromise for him. We have a kid now, so it's time to get married. That day, I took Grayson to the Civil Affairs Bureau. We took photos and registered our marriage. Grayson was down, seemed very reluctant to marry me, drove me crazy, but that was just the start. There was always something worse. I couldn't lose my temper at him. He somehow heard I had a fiancé and called everyone that, especially Nolan. I explained 100 times Nolan was his therapist. He'd just stuff his ears into pillows and pretend to be deaf. Drove me nuts. After finally clearing the pregnancy, he started self-harming, poking his glands until they were ruined. Didn't say a word, almost caused a disaster. I thought he hated me enough to despise my mark. Drove me crazy, holding back my anger. I took him to the hospital for treatment, removed the necrotic gland. During the short hospital stay, he ran off and left me and the kid behind. Made me go insane. I was nursing the kid and looking for a wife at the same time. 3 years searching. He was cosplaying as an old man on some broken old street, just to take care of someone else's kid, dressing like a young man. Made me want to smack his ass, but I didn't dare. He didn't even remember me. What if he ran again? I can't take it. Angry or not, no real divorce. If he dares to sign, I'd really smack his ass. Good thing he didn't sign. Saved a beating. No problem. If I don't use my hands, I'll use a stick. He's lost his pheromones, but still smells amazing. Turns out my wife's right ear is really deaf. Drove me nuts. Went to the psych hospital, beat up his dad, gave him deafness, came home to soothe my wife. Thank Hudson, because he's a jerk who married a rebellious alpha. Thank his wife, she ran off with a baby for 3 years. Now neighbors with Grayson. Thank my son, who knows how to hold on to his dad and never let go. Thank myself, I'm truly the most devoted guy in the world.